A new Corvette is coming, but what exactly will it be? I'm Alex Luft. You're watching the GM Authority channel by MOTROLIX. Let's dive right in.
MOTROLIX.
So, Chevy just published a new teaser on social media that essentially tells us that a new Corvette is coming on June 17th. Yep, Tuesday, June 17th. Let's take a look at that teaser and you can judge for yourself what you think it will be. So, the hype is real. The hype is real indeed. But what exactly is the hype all about? What hype are we even talking about here? Is it the hype about the upcoming Corvette C8 Zora, which might not even be called the Zora? Is it a potential C8 Grand Sport, which was rumored to not even be part of the lineup in the very beginning of the program? Or is it something more outlandish, like a Corvette SUV or the Electric Corvette, both of which really have been rumored? So what I just outlined are my 4 ideas about what this announcement could be all about. Let's start with a potential Corvette C8 Grand Sport announcement. Now, the Corvette C8 Grand Sport would theoretically combine the 6.2-liter LT2 naturally aspirated V8 from the Corvette C8 Stingray with the wide body of the Z06, the E-Ray, and the ZR1. Now, a C8 Grand Sport was not part of the original plan that was put in place by Chevy and Team Corvette for the C8 lineup as a whole. That's something that we at GMAuthority.com have reported on way back in 2018 to 2019. Don't quote me in a time frame right now, but that was essentially the place of the Grand Sport, was essentially something that the E-Ray would take in the lineup. So perhaps Team Chevy has changed those plans and a Grand Sport could maybe now be in the works, but maybe it won't be called the Grand Sport. Maybe it will be called the Corvette X instead. We did see a curious C8 prototype back in May, just a month ago, and it essentially was the wide-body C8 with a device at the rear mounted to the rearmost part, the rear fascia of the vehicle, to measure things like emissions and exhaust. Perhaps that tester, as we had opined back in May when we reported on the sighting, maybe that really was the upcoming C8 Grand Sport, but not the Grand Sport, maybe Corvette X. Who knows? So that's one possibility. The second possibility is a Corvette SUV. After all, the X seems to indicate in most automotive environments and markets, the X indicates that there is some kind of a cross functionality. Maybe it's a crossover, maybe it's an SUV, things of that sort. Now, GM was rumored to be considering a Corvette SUV a few years ago, but we never really got to the bottom of whether or not such a project was approved for development and ultimately for production. Now, I can probably spend an hour discussing whether or not an SUV should be or shouldn't be part of the Corvette lineup, but I will just say this. Porsche, which is Corvette's primary competitor when it comes to the C8 and the 911 as well as the 718, well, Porsche is doing so well with its now three crossover SUVs, the Macan, the Cayenne, and the Macan Electric, which is replacing the Macan. So we could spend an entire video discussing whether an SUV should be part of or shouldn't be part of the Corvette lineup, but suffice it to say that there is an argument to be made and there is a case to be made for having such a vehicle as part of the lineup. So a Corvette SUV is the second potential option of what this announcement could be. And that brings me to number 3, which is the much rumored electric Corvette model. That was something that was rumored to be part of GM's internal product discussions a few years ago, but similar to the Corvette SUV, we don't know whether or not that was ultimately approved for development and for production. So perhaps this is what this announcement will be all about. Both the Corvette SUV idea or possibility, as well as the Corvette Electric idea or possibility. Both of these are kind of strange because we haven't seen a single prototype, we haven't seen a single, say, trademark filing, we haven't seen any kind of patent or design patent, we haven't seen any leaks, whether it's from suppliers or from GM proper. So what I'm getting at is that something like this is quite tough to bring to market without there being any kind of information on it. This would have been as skunk works of a project as it gets. So I personally don't think that it's either the SUV or the electric model. And that brings me to option 4, which is the Corvette C8 Zora. Now that's something that we at GMAuthority.com have been reporting on for years now as being part of the C8 product plan. It essentially will be the range topper from a performance standpoint, mating the 5.5 twin-turbo V8 LT7 engine from the C8 ZR1 with a hybrid electric drivetrain at the front axle from the E-Ray, essentially delivering an all-wheel drive C8 that is a beast in its own right, much more so than the E-Ray already is a beast. And in fact, the Zora might not actually even be called the Zora. The latest rumblings are that Zora might still be used as a name, but that GM might end up bringing it to market and calling it either the ZR1-E or the ZR1X. In fact, now that I think of it, the X name would be a perfect fit for an all-wheel drive vehicle. You know, X or all-wheel drive, that's been used and is commonly known around the automotive industry as denoting all-wheel drive. And so that would be a perfect fit for a vehicle like the Zora, which we've been calling the Zora all this time. So that would be my prediction, that the Corvette X will become the vehicle that we have been calling the Zora all of this time for the past few years, thereby making it a package of the ZR1. What do you think it will be? Will it be a Grand Sport? Will it be the Zora? Will it be a Corvette SUV, an electric Corvette, something else entirely? Let us know in the comments, and make sure to keep your eyes peeled to GMAuthority.com tomorrow for this announcement. For GMAuthority.com and the MOTROLIX Network, I'm Alex Luft. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.
MOTROLIX.